Welcome back to Boom and Bust. It's time for our monthly panel with the Honorable Joe Oliver, the Honorable Gary Marr, and Sandra Pupatello. Sandra, I had to cut you off there, but please continue with your thoughts on the
Only to
current
say
situation.
it's absolutely a diversion to have a leadership going on at this time. If I had, if I was the king of the world, I would have said, do this last year. And then you would actually give a new leader time to get ready. At this juncture, I honestly thought it was too late. And the largest focus is on the US and how we contend with this, regardless of leader. So I think he should have stayed and finished this, changed some of the players, perhaps, which he was intending to do just before Christmas. And of course, that didn't go well. But now we've got this break between provinces, and we desperately need them aligned with where we collectively go in a retaliatory move, which it looks like we're going to have to make. No one who's gone to kneel at the altar of Mar-a-Lago has come back and said, well, he's not imposing tariffs. So it looks like we're going to have a decision to make. And where it hurts the most is at the provincial level. There's no question. Longer term, hopefully this is going to be just a blip. And then he'll realize, well, I guess they are not the enemy. We are, in fact, allies. And that this will become a thing of the past. But for, actually 8 years ago when this started, and that was under the new USMCA, let's remember the only thing we have to contend with on that front as a trade deal is a review, not necessarily completely reopening it. And I wish we would talk about it as a review so we can sort of push that one off the table at least, which has a huge impact on Ontario and other provinces.
Gary Marr, what's your perspective on all of this?
Well, let me say I'm going to return back to your original question, Tony. I think we can all agree that the Prime Minister did not step down at the right time. I think, perhaps last spring was the best time, and every day since then has probably been the second best time for him to do so. But to have done so at this particular juncture in our relationships with the United States, I think has been particularly bad. I think that the Prime Minister and perhaps members of his caucus, aided by Jagmeet Singh and the NDP, have placed the interests of themselves ahead of that of the country and ahead of that of the interests of Canadians. And let me make a prediction that regardless of who the leader of the new leader of the Liberal Party is, perhaps Jagmeet Singh completely forgets about his interests in bringing the government down through a non-confidence motion. He could say, well, I couldn't get along with Mr. Trudeau, but perhaps I can get along with the new prime minister, and we might not have an election until October of 2025. So that's a possibility that looms over us, and I think that this is a particularly bad time to have placed the government in such a state of disarray. It would have been far better for the prime minister to have dropped the writ and said, we're going to an election, and I need a strong mandate to deal with the United States. He believed in his heart that he was the only person that could beat Pierre Poilievre, and I think that he may have come to the conclusion that he could not, and that all of this has been a great diversion from the real interest that the government should have been focused on, going back to last summer,
Right.
in anticipation of the possibility of a Trump administration or Biden administration. They should have been preparing for both of which had strong views on America first.
Sure.
Their policies were different somewhat, but in both cases, that's what the Canadian government should have been focused on.
And yet, Joe, here we are. And of course, the tariff threat is almost upon us. Do you expect that at one fell swoop, or are we going to have 5% increments? What do you see coming down the pipe?
Well, I don't know. Look, the people have said about Trump, don't take him literally, take him seriously. And so the issue is whether he wants tariffs or whether he wants to use tariffs as a lever to get something else. Is he trying to get an economic union with Canada? I don't think we're talking about an invasion or anything that crazy. but he may want to see a real opening of the two economies. That would be to the economic advantage of the United States, obviously, and perhaps even for Canada. But there are clearly sovereignty issues that would be implied with that.
Right.
I I think he's
Joe,
going to.
let's just finish up with that. We're going to take another brief break, but you'll get the next word after these commercial messages.